welcome to Pain in the Podcass, your place to find out everything you've ever wanted to know about pain. My name's Dr. Joseph Parsons, and I'm joined by the wonderful Don Wijasoria and Dr. Joshua Craw. And today, we're talking about mindfulness and pain. Welcome in.
Hello everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of Pain in the Podcass. I'm speaking this way because you already have read the title of this episode and you know what it's going to be about. I would like to introduce myself. I'm Don Wijasoria, and I'm joined by the lovely Dr. Joseph Parsons and the incredible Dr. Joshua Craw. And today we are chanting our way through the ancient Buddhist practice of mindfulness. The many influences have turned into an aesthetic on Instagram. And is that right? Well, we'll find out.
Plot twist. No.
You know, you said it's ancient Buddhist. There's actually... we're skipping forward here into talking about pain, but there's an ancient Buddhist text called Salata Sutta, I think, which means the arrow, and it states that the first arrow of mindfulness in pain is the ability to fully experience the sensory aspects of pain, and then the second arrow is the ability to let go.
Oh, so that explains the arrows on Aang in the Avatar The Last Airbender. No one else is a fan of that show on this podcast.
I do love it. I'm just baffled by you.
He's an air nomad.
Well. Should we start the podcast as we start every podcast?
Yes, please.
About something we've learned about ourselves and a fact about ourselves. So, a fact about myself is, I don't actually have my driving license yet.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm a man in my 30s and I can drive, just not legally.
But you've been talking about buying a car for a while now, so I just assumed you had your license.
Nope.
Have you got a test booked in?
I do have a test booked in, but it's in another city in October, which, for context, that's several months in the future.
Have you been to this city before?
Once.
Driven in it?
I'm not driven in 17 years, Joe.
Okay. And I'm sure he's going to be just fine. But if you're driving anywhere in the south of England in October...
And you see a man with a fisherman's hat on. just be careful.
Driving or just anyone with
Just
a fisherman's hat?
Yeah, it's a red flag.
Never trust
Even as a
them with
pedestrian,
fisherman's hat.
Josh is a red flag.
Shall I give my fact about myself?
I'd love to hear it, Joe.
I really enjoy gardening. This is something that has become only true recently, but I've been trying to grow things from seed. And I've managed to grow tomato plants and basil and garlic chives and spring onions and spinach, and I am in the process of trying to grow a mango tree.
And how's that going?
I currently have a seed that is sat in wet tissue paper in a Ziploc bag, because I gather that's step one. So we're on step one of what? No.
Of 5,000.
Yeah, we're on step one of 5,000. But
See, I have a one-step process for growing a mango tree. It's grow a mango tree, step one. Bam.
I really like that approach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm on kind of step 0.01 in that case.
Don, what's your fact about yourself this week?
Okay. I really struggled to think of one for this episode, so it's a really random one. But my fact for this week is I really enjoy going on gondolas. And like chairlifts and stuff like that.
Oh, gondolas as in like ski, not as in when the moon hits your eye, right? No.
Sorry, keep going.
That's
like a big
more.
pizza pie.
That's amore.
That was quite good.
That was terrible. Also off key.
But
Me,
no, yeah.
not Josh. Josh was beautiful, but my trumpet was.
Mercy.
As you can tell, Josh's linguistic prowess is not one of the things he's particularly strong at.
But yeah, so yeah, I just really like the very slow moving nature of it all. You get to see all the sides, and it's really beautiful. And if you've not been to the one in London that goes over the river, It's actually not too bad.
The Emirates one.
The Emirates one. I don't know if it's still running.
The Rivers of Babylon.
They're all connected, Josh. But yeah, it's quite nice. A bit of a waste of money, but it's not too bad.
Okay.
Very contradictory there, but I liked it. Josh, let's go back to you with what you've learned about yourself this week.
I don't know if this is what I've learned about myself this week, but it's a bit more of a fact. It's like, I'm just so computer illiterate.
We learned that about you a long time ago.
Yeah.
Can that be my learning for this week?
No, that's definitely mine. Every time we do this podcast, we have show notes, and they're on a really lovely document, like sharing facility. What's it called? Google Docs?
I think this proves his
Yeah.
point.
And every single time we record, I ask Joe to email me it.
Instead of just accepting the request on like Google Docs or whatever.
Or Messenger
Or-
or
yeah.
anywhere else.
It's because I've got Messenger on my phone, but not on my laptop,
It's a web app.
which I don't have on my laptop.
But it's a web app.
He doesn't want to log in because he's worried that people will somehow access it, as if they couldn't hack him on his phone.
I'll be honest, I don't know my password for Facebook because I did it like nearly 20 years ago.
Okay, do you have a password manager?
No.
Okay, that's concerning.
Is that somebody you hire?
Yeah.
Yo, John. Okay, here's my passwords for everything, and here's 20 quid. Just remind me, okay?
John's notebook is just so. John, right? I can't get into Facebook.
It's 4 a.m., Josh. Stop harassing me. Yes, another point that will really drive that home is the fact that Josh has a Chromebook. Sorry, no hate on the Chromebook, but it just really consolidates that point.
I'll be honest, my old laptop, which was a decent laptop, well, it was a fair laptop, broke. A can of Pepsi Max exploded in my bag and destroyed it.
No.
And I just needed this in the interim until I got a computer.
Tied you over.
Fair enough.
I didn't realise how terrible Chromebooks were, but if you're listening, anybody that makes Chromebooks, do better.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Yep. Let's not go into that debate. Joe, what have you learned about yourself?
I've learned that my desire to work out and exercise, because I don't go to a gym or anything, I do like home exercise mainly, or go and do things like dancing or badminton. But whenever I want to do like a gym style workout, I do it at home. And my desire to do gym style workouts directly correlates with the presence of carpet. I absolutely hate doing a workout that's not on carpet. Put a yoga mat on a wooden floor, still so uncomfortable. I've got a really soft, like plush carpet at home, and I've got so used to kind of the quite pleasant feeling of like doing sit-ups on the soft carpet, or like,
It's a lot easier on the joints.
so much easier on the joints. I don't know. I'd love to know what listeners think. Anyone with chronic pain who's doing sort of home workout, home exercise type stuff. Do you also find that if you do any sort of exercise on a wooden floor, it's just agony?
I can confirm we did play badminton, and I wasn't wearing shoes, and it was a hard court, and I destroyed myself. This is the second episode in a row where I'm talking about this, but I really felt like I was dying.
Josh was jumping in the air because he wasn't wearing shoes, because he only had hiking boots with him that weekend. It made like a really satisfying plop sound as his feet hit the floor.
No, that wasn't the sound of my feet hitting the floor. That was the sound of my synovial joints popping.
I just tried to mimic the sound by slapping myself. Maybe you should just, instead of a yoga mat, just have a piece of carpet that's cut out into the shape of a yoga mat and carry that around with you. You can roll it up.
You know what? That's not the worst idea you've come
Yeah.
up with.
Do you have my
Second
moments?
worst idea you've come up with. Don, what have you learned about yourself this week?
I've learned that I am not so game adverse. No. Anti-gaming? No. What am I trying to say? I've learned that
You're more adept at gaming than you realised.
I've learned that I enjoy gaming more than I thought I would. Recently, I brought my PlayStation 3 up from my family home to where I'm living right now, and so because I've just got more free time now that I'm not playing badminton anymore, so I thought, you know what, let's just go back to the PS3. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I started playing Red Dead Redemption.
Nice.
It
The
is-
original?
the original.
Nice.
It is so choppy on my PS3. It is a very old console, but yeah. But no, it's been enjoyable. Nice way to spend the evening.
Yeah, I think I might mention this on the podcast before, but I still play PS3 games.
Yeah. I think that generation of console was... I'm not a big gamer either, but for me as a non-gamer, whenever I would play like at friends' houses or something, I think the 360 and the PS3 were just like such a step change towards like crazy jump in quality. And then since then, I don't really feel like I've been that wowed by. I've not felt a desire to have another console.
Well, the difference for me is when you go onto desktop.
Oh yeah,
The quality difference is just magnificent. I've been playing Oblivion Remastered, which is I think it's a 2009 game, maybe even a bit earlier than that. No, it is earlier than that. But they've remastered it with like amazing graphics, just absolutely unreal.
Yeah.
Engine 5. And yeah, it's game changing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not much of a gamer. I think the last time I played on my PS3 was about at least 6 years ago. But when it comes to like modern consoles, I will say the haptics on like
I don't know what haptics are.
controllers,
Please explain.
the vibrations that you get from controllers.
Oh, like the tactile stuff it gives it. Yeah.
So from like the new PS5 controller, like those are pretty incredible.
Wow.
Yes. But yeah,
I would like to
gaming.
go on one of those 4D driving racing game simulators. You know, the ones where it's like you've got to set up like a Formula One car and it like
15 screens in front of you.
15 screens, and it does like it like has you on a gyro and stuff. So like you feel like not necessarily the G-forces you'd feel in a Formula One car because you probably just break your neck or something. But it tries to reproduce sort of some of the sensation, and the weight of the wheel gets heavier the tighter the corner and the faster you go in. Like it's cool.
I would love to do that, but then I remember I drive an actual car.
Yeah, but you don't drive an actual car at 250 miles an hour, do you? Even your new car can't do that.
I mean, you've been in the car with me. It's pretty reckless.
It's pretty fucking scary.
Yeah, I don't think you will ever hit half of that speed.
Oh, absolutely
Have you been on the motorway we've done?
But in a tiny little car like mine, it feels pretty scary.
Quick. Yeah.
I was white knuckling it the entire way.
Yes. The grab handle on the passenger side of my car nearly came off after Josh was in it.
It eroded.
All right, so with this episode being on mindfulness, as you've probably seen from the title, I'd like to start the episode off by asking you two what you think of mindfulness. Would you kind of be able to describe what your perception of it is, when you first heard about it, who first told you about it, and yeah, go on.
Okay, yeah, I'm very sceptical. I think it's a bit of hokum, if I'm being honest with you. Yes, there might be some benefits to it, but I mean, I'm a scientist at heart. I need to see proper evidence, and I think it was Mr. Zinn.
Yeah.
Yeah, he. I'm not overly enthralled by his scientific method.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't think I'm quite as anti-mindfulness as Josh, but I think sometimes it does feel like the culture around things like mindfulness and hypnotherapy and stuff tends to just be like, well, like it's really good for you. But obviously they're not backing that up with evidence, and they kind of just get other people to say it. It's a very testimonial-based thing, I think. I think maybe mindfulness is a little bit more evidence-based than other ones, but I think this kind of thing has a tendency to be quite like, well, Josh said it was good, so,
No, I did not.
No, I know, but you know what I mean? It's like when one person says it's good, people kind of tend to use that to say that it works, rather than actually having that solid evidence base. And sometimes it is hard to prove things with a formal evidence base, but I think that's my perception of it. But to be honest with you, I first heard about it from pain consultants, like working with me personally.
That is fascinating.
I had not heard of the concept before. This was before everyone was like very mindful, very demure, whatever the fuck they say. Bloody TikTokers.
Yeah, I think the first time I heard about it was actually med school.
Was it?
Yeah. We had a lecturer that used to do all that fluffy stuff. Technical terms.
They were a furry.
Yeah, she used to talk about all that mindfulness and what have you. We had maybe 1 or 2 sessions, But nah, it's not for me.
Okay. No, I completely get where you two are coming from. I think a lot of people share that sentiment share that sentiment, and it's really tricky because, as you said, Joe, it's very subjective, and as I guess humans, we kind of go off of what other people say, and it's easy to kind of fall into a trap sometimes. But hopefully, with this episode, we can kind of clarify things a bit and just shine a light on the true effects and power of mindfulness. And so, I know there's quite a large number of skeptics out there, but they might find it surprising to know that the effects of mindfulness when it comes to treating chronic pain is not entirely a myth. Like, it's not all berry smoothies, acai bowls, and yoga classes. In fact, a 2016 meta-analysis showed that guided mindfulness meditation interventions improved pain symptoms as well as symptoms of depression and quality of life, that being both physically and mentally. And I believe this is the true power of mindfulness.
I think from a biological point of view, when we were researching this episode, I was really interested to know, like, okay, if this does seem to have some success in reducing pain, in reducing depression, improving quality of life, what might be the mechanisms behind that? And there's a couple of studies that look at functional MRI. So Josh, do you want to, as our resident doctor, do you want to tell us a little bit about how functional MRI works, and then I can go back and tell you what the studies found?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, love the pun, even though it wasn't intended as a pun. I'm a resident doctor, plus our resident doctor.
Ha ha ha.
And yeah, so functional MRIs, I think we've mentioned it previously on the podcast. This is an MRI, which is multiple magnetic images of whatever you scan, so your brain, for example. And when we do a functional MRI, what we do is we look for blood flows in certain areas of the brain, which are secondary to different stimuluses. So, for example, if you were to stick a pin in somebody whilst they're in an fMRI, you can see which area of the brain lights up. So you can make inferences on the function of that area of the brain, or how that person's interpreting that stimulus.
And am I right in saying that it isn't actually like a guaranteed increase in activity that we can see? It's an increase in blood flow, and so we assume that means the area is more active.
Yeah, that is a more accurate representation of it. So, like, blood flow to a certain area does sort of, we think it means there's more activity there, because you need more blood flow there for it to be able to work.
Have more oxygen, nutrients, etc.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. Well, these studies in mindfulness found that people who had higher mindfulness scores, so there's different sort of questionnaires and outcome measures that measure how far on this kind of continuum from Josh to someone very positive about mindfulness and and these mindfulness behaviours. And it found that people who had higher mindfulness scores had lower pain ratings in response to a heat stimulus. So when they were basically had a hot stimulus on their arm, they reported lower pain intensity and pain unpleasantness than people who had a lower mindfulness score. And this was actually associated with deactivation of a couple of areas in the brain called the posterior cingulate cortex and the precuneus. And so you don't really need to know what these are specifically, but these are part of our pain processing machinery within our brain. And so seeing this deactivation indicates that we're kind of toning down that pain response.
A similar study found that higher mindfulness scores were also associated with higher pain thresholds and weaker connectivity between the prefrontal cortex, the posterior cingulate cortex, and precuneus, with a strong connectivity between the precuneus and the somatosensory cortex.
So the somatosensory cortex is kind of this body map that we have in our head. We can put a picture on our social media of something called the sensory homunculus.
One of my favourite images from neurosurgery.
It basically represents the sensation of, like, sort of the amount of sensation that's provided to different areas of your body. So if you imagine the amount of sensation your hands have compared to your feet, your hands have a lot more. You have a lot more kind of tactile differentiation. You've got a lot more nerve endings there. And so the sensory homunculus is like a visual representation of the amount of sensation you have in different areas.
Is it also called the cortical homunculus?
It could be, yeah.
So it is a really disturbing image.
So massive lips, massive hands, big feet, big genitals, and the rest is pretty small.
Arranged in the most, just confusing way.
But so having this greater connectivity between one of these pain processing areas and the somatosensory cortex kind of indicates maybe like greater body awareness. this is just my theory working on it, but having this greater understanding of where the pain is, a greater kind of attention to it, but again, having this reduced connectivity of the areas involved in pain processing. So maybe you're more aware, you're more kind of attentive to the pain, but it's not affecting you in the same way. It's not triggering those pain pathways as easily. And
that awareness is a fairly common theme when it comes to mindfulness, and we'll get onto more of that later.
But I don't think it's just kind of these brain mechanisms that people have said is the reason why mindfulness seems to reduce pain, is it?
No. Other studies have suggested positive mood, relaxation, or divided attention are all alternate mechanisms to which mindfulness reduces pain. In terms of chemical mechanisms, pain-relieving strategies work through the endogenous opioid system.
So things like exercise, for example.
Exactly.
It switches on your release of endorphins and kephalins, and these basically work in your body the same way that morphine does. It switches on those same pathways and helps to reduce your pain.
Love a good mu receptor.
Kephalins.
Enkephalins.
What's enkephalins?
They are endogenous opioids, so drugs your body produces itself.
Oh, right, okay.
That work on the same receptors that morphine does, codeine does, etc.
Yeah, and we've heard of endorphins before, so you think about runner's high and the like.
Exactly. But what's interesting is that we know that the pain-reducing effects of mindfulness don't actually come from that opioid system, because there was a really interesting clinical trial where they gave naloxone, which is an opioid antagonist. It switches off this opioid system, and they found that mindfulness without naloxone, so with the opioid pathway still on, and with naloxone, with the opioid pathway switched off, mindfulness still had the same pain-reducing effect. So it's not actually reducing pain via that same common mechanism. But actually, one study found that people who with chronic pain who underwent mindfulness interventions had an increase in their levels of oxytocin. So that's, correct me if I'm wrong here, Josh, but that's kind of what you release when you're breastfeeding a child and when you're giving birth to a child. It's that relaxation hormone, that connection hormone. Is that right?
Yes, so oxytocin is a hormone that is related to social bonding, to sexual reproduction and childbirth. So you typically, after childbirth, women get a big dump of oxytocin, and it helps them from a biological sort of evolutionary point of view first develop that bond between themselves and the child.
And so maybe it's this, in fact, this kind of stress-relieving impact of oxytocin and kind of nurturing and nourishing effect of it instead that might be the mechanism by which mindfulness works.
Yes, so that's some really valuable insight into kind of what happens when it comes to mindfulness from a physiological point of view. But I believe it's on both the patient and the clinician to open that dialogue and kind of for the clinician to provide that insight so that the patient can understand the point of employing mindfulness in their treatment.
And I don't think you can necessarily do that early in a patient's journey, can you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if the patient doesn't have an insight into their illness, about the triggers, about what really acts on them to make them have more pain, it's something like mindfulness, which, as I said, I'm skeptical at, but some people see the benefits of it. If they don't have that insight into their own condition, are they going to be able to get the most from it? And I think they've got to really be accepting of the condition that they've got, about their pain, and be able to move forward from that. And having frank conversations with their clinicians or with somebody who's practicing mindfulness with them, I think, is the important thing. If somebody is very close-minded, myself to some aspects, I don't use mindfulness for my chronic pain, then it's not going to work. Somebody has to have that open approach to sort of using this method to get any benefit from it, even if it is a placebo effect.
That kind of acceptance.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think Josh saw me smirking while he was saying that, and it wasn't because of anything he said. It was because I was thinking if you tried to put this in an acute pain setting, maybe where at that point people are really in their pain journey, they haven't quite understand their pain yet. Can you imagine, like, you've gone in and you've shattered your leg, you've been out climbing, you absolutely shattered your leg, and you're there just like, please, I need some morphine. And they're like, have you thought about not judging your thoughts?
I might get a slap.
Yeah. So it is exactly what Josh says. It's coming to terms, accepting, understanding the pain first, and then you can maybe engage more in things like this. So I think if you're early in your pain journey listening to this, you might be as skeptical as Josh is, or you might be somewhere more towards me in that mid-skepticism point, or you might be more accepting of it like Don.
Do you know what, though? As a doctor, if a patient comes to me and says they want to try mindfulness, I'm all for it. It's cheap. It's not going to cause any harm. And if the patient believes it's going to work, then...
Yeah, you need no equipment to practice it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of people seem to think it reduces stress, which is one of the key things in chronic pain, is stress does really build up for many reasons.
And that reduction in stress kind of takes us back to the previous point about the improved quality of life. And a way to do this is to practice acceptance and non-reactivity. And Joe can tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, so mindfulness, one of the sort of key benefits that's advertised of it is that you develop this kind of non-reactivity. So understanding, for example, that flares may happen. And that doesn't mean that you have to just pretend they're not happening or ignore them or somehow rise above them, pretend that they're not going to affect you. It's accepting the fact that they may happen and that things may be bad for a time. It's reducing that catastrophizing. So just because you're having a bad pain day doesn't mean things are going to always get worse. Just because you're having pain 24/7 doesn't mean you can't have a good quality of life. It's that ability to, like we joked about before, but non-judgmentally look at your thoughts. So you can think, oh, my pain's so much worse today, and you can let that thought then move on. That's a valid thought and it's completely reasonable, but you don't need to dwell on that. You don't need to let that kind of become the center point of a sort of expanding, catastrophizing stress ball.
Yeah, you don't need to let it piss you off, because once that happens, it's very easy for your frustration to extend to other people around you as well.
Sure.
Depends how you kind of express that frustration. But yeah, definitely reducing that catastrophizing is a good thing.
But I think, obviously, we spoke about some of the barriers to accessing this, about like not necessarily believing, like preconceptions of mindfulness can be a big barrier to people engaging. But are there any other sort of barriers and facilitators to people engaging in mindfulness? Because I think it's important for our listeners that we reflect on them so that they can be aware of why they may be quite keen on the idea, or in fact not keen on the idea, and what they can do to maybe remove some of those barriers.
So barriers could include things like disabilities, transport, mental health conditions, emotions, and motivation levels.
Yeah, so disability, for example, you might have the physical inability to attend a particular location, to engage in a particular activity, or those activities might just be uncomfortable. Say, for example, I know that in pain clinic appointments I've been to, the chairs are always unbelievably uncomfortable. It's like they're just trying to make sure that your pain is as bad as possible, so you can really be in the moment giving them descriptions of how bad your pain is.
Forcing you to be mindful.
Mindful of just how awful the chairs are. But yeah, it can be really unpleasant for people with pain or with disability to engage in these. And
Inadequate pain management before the programme may cause people to disengage as they feel they need further support before moving to interventions like this. They want to see if the tablets work, they want to see if whatever other methods that are more mainstream work before mindfulness.
Which I find a bit strange, because mindfulness, as we found, is a free, very easily accessible practice. And so I feel like it should be encouraged, or could be encouraged, as one of the first options for some people.
Yeah, but it's like we said before, it's having that understanding of your pain and understanding of the fact that everything you do will impact your pain positively or negatively.
Yeah.
What you eat, how you sleep, how you sit down on a chair, your posture, your thought processes, all of these things are involved. And so until you've got an understanding of that, this seems like quite a tangential approach to managing your pain.
So yeah, I mean, we've talked about the barriers. There are quite a few barriers, to be fair. But how about things that can help? For example, the sense of community in completing sessions has been shown to be a facilitator in mindfulness success.
And I guess as well, being in that group kind of setting where mindfulness tends to be run, you've got that sense of accountability as well. So practicing and remaining active and engaged in your own healthcare, if you've got other people there to spur you on, that's quite a...
Yeah, it's quite a motivating factor. So we see that, for example, in weight loss as well. So people that attend Weight Watchers, for example, and go to the group, get weighed, have a talk about it afterwards, show better weight loss outcomes. It's the same with mindfulness, apparently.
Yeah. But, I mean, there is a paper that looks at existing mindfulness strategies and how they're run within healthcare services, and it suggested some potential ways that these services could be improved. So if you're out there listening, you're a clinician, you run some mindfulness type sessions, maybe some of these ideas might help you to improve those sessions and get better retention and buy-in.
Yeah, so one of these improvements was a pre-program letter that explained the objective of the intervention with testimonials from other users and infographics, for example. And this, again, just kind of harks back to the point of having that insight, having that knowledge about the purpose and the impact of mindfulness.
And it also suggested a taster session before the referral. So like Don says, if you've got that idea about how it might work and why you're doing it, you can then go and have a try. You don't have to commit to doing an 8-week intervention. You can just go once, see if you like it, see if it aligns with your current thought process on your pain journey. And if it doesn't, well, you gave it a try, you thought about it. You're not having to commit to anything long term that's going to take up a lot of your precious time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another one is, it sounds fairly simple, but providing good quality equipment for those sessions. So things such as, I don't know, maybe the resources, the pamphlets, the information that they receive, or the chairs that they sit on, the rooms that they operate in. These can all help that the patient kind of feel a bit more valued and comfortable in those sessions.
Yeah, and I think as well, alongside that, acknowledging that the people in front of you are in pain and encouraging them to do what they need to do to remain comfortable. So I know that in a lot of pain settings that I've been in, where it's been with quite progressive pain clinicians, they've said any point you need to get up and have a walk around, if you need to lay down on the floor and stretch, they're very understanding that you might need to do these things to remain comfortable.
Another key one is building up the duration of these mindfulness practices slowly. So it can be really difficult for people to just from the get-go sit down, maybe meditate for half an hour. That's asking quite a lot from someone who's a beginner.
Yeah, it's a hell of a long time to just be kind of
Still
unstimulated in modern times.
I suppose it's like running a marathon, isn't it? You're not just going to start and try and sprint 26 fucking miles, are you?
Yeah, well, exactly. I had a friend actually who did a 10-day mindfulness retreat where no phones, no laptops, no pen and paper, no books.
What?
It was just, you had 3 meals a day, and other than that, it was just a building with a garden, and you just go around and sit in the garden, think, walk. It was just to encourage people to be really meditative. And
how do you feel about that?
I feel like it's a fantastic way to scam people out of money.
Yeah, it's quite expensive as well, I think. But to be fair, it's a combination, isn't it? But yeah, and they were encouraged not to talk as well, so they weren't encouraged to talk to each other. It's meant to be silent.
I think I'd like to try that if it was free.
Yeah, I absolutely wouldn't.
I'll just, you know what I'll do? If I'm ever feeling like I need that, I'll just give you my phone, give you every electronic device that I have, and you keep it with you. Okay. And then I just sit in my garden for a week.
Yeah,
I'll have a tent out there.
Yeah,
yeah.
Can we get you a yurt instead of tent?
I would love a yurt.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
With a little fire on the middle.
A little fire, and I don't know, maybe a cowhide. No, that's not.
No, I can see that.
Is that
on the floor?
But I feel like that's a vegan cowhide. A fake one.
Yeah, the cows are vegan.
The IKEA ones.
Faux cow.
Faux cow. Yes. We've kind of briefly alluded to this already in talking about these mindfulness interventions and their pros and cons, the facilitators and the barriers. But mindfulness was sort of brought to the Western medical world by a man called John Kabat-Zinn in the 1970s. And I think, Don, you did quite a lot of reading into his work.
Yes, so John Kabat-Zinn, and listeners, if you've Googled him and seen a picture of him, he kind of looks like a bit of a cult leader. So, kind of ironic, but yes, he is thought to have brought mindfulness to the Western medical world in the 1970s with his Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction Program, MBSR for short. This is an acceptance and commitment-based therapy, and research shows that MBSR can reduce the intensity of chronic pain and change the brain's relationship to pain. So you might not stop hurting, but you'll care slightly less, which I guess is progress.
Yeah, it's being able to detach from that pain a little bit. It's like distraction therapy, isn't it? It's separating yourself from the pain a little bit, not necessarily actually reducing the intensity, but being able to tolerate it a little bit better.
So MBSR is not the only mindfulness-based intervention. There are various other options, such as visual imagery, body scanning, mindful eating, which Joe actually gave Josh and I a little taster session of earlier, and it was special.
Tastes like chocolate.
Yeah, did you realise that you just
yeah.
said taster session?
Yes.
Joe and I looked at each other then, and yeah, it was brilliant.
But all of these kind of these practices, these interventions revolve around the concept of meditating, relaxing, and increasing your awareness. So with that, I'd like to play a little game. I'm going to play a sound for you guys, and I'd just like you to identify as many distinct sounds as you can while staying relaxed and present in the moment.
Can listeners play along at home?
Yes, this is why I came up with the audio game, so that
Okay.
people can listen to it on the podcast.
Is this a game that might be on the leaderboard, or is there no winner to this game?
There's no winners.
I think this can go on the leaderboard.
Oh, wow, okay.
Oh my god, can I extend my
How
lead?
can I be relaxed and present when I know that there's points at stake?
See, it's not that easy to be mindful all the time. Okay, so are you guys ready?
As I'll ever be.
All right, mindfulness hats on. Josh puts on his fisherman cap. All right,
Very mindfully.
let's go. Hope you can hear this, listeners. All right, and we come back. So, listeners, I'd like to encourage you to write in the comments how many different sounds you heard, either a number or you can list out all the various types of sounds. But Josh, Joe, on the count of three.
Wait, I've not counted yet.
All right, so on the count of three, I want you both to say out loud how many different sounds there were.
So 1, 2, 3, and then say it?
Yes. 1, 2, 3.
6.
Oh,
okay.
6.
I'm interested to know what they were.
Okay.
Should we do one at a time, which ones we heard?
Go on then.
Go on.
I've got mine written down, so I can't cheat.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to cheat, honestly.
So you go first. Why don't you go first and I'll say yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay. So I heard cows.
Yep.
Yep, I've also got cow.
I heard a dog.
I've also got dog.
I heard birds.
I've also got birds.
I heard what I would describe as either like a truck or a trailer. Like it sounded like wagon wheels almost. It sounded like on a bumpy road.
Yeah, I put car/vehicle.
Yeah, on a bumpy road.
Yeah.
Heard a train in the distance. I heard like kind of a whooshing noise that I thought was a train.
Yep.
And I heard sheep.
Mm-hmm.
There was like a bleh.
Josh, what about you?
Well, there was a bell chiming.
There was definitely a bell chiming.
Oh, there's a cowbell, wasn't there?
Yep.
Yeah.
And
I think that's probably what I thought when I said cow.
And there was like a crowd/people mumbling in the background.
Yep.
Other than that, I got all the Joes. Other than the...
So you both actually got the numbers wrong. Well, no, you got the number right, Joe, but you said a different number to what you've said. Or are you
said
sticking
6.
with this list?
Yeah, I've got 6 there.
Sorry, I thought you meant you already had those ones that
No,
you
he means the other ones are the same as mine.
Okay, yeah. But the point of that was to help you engage in a form of mindfulness practice. With that exercise, were you thinking about anything apart from that audio file? Were you thinking about anything apart from those sounds? Did those sounds take you anywhere?
It was in a market.
Yeah.
Probably
and did
in rural India.
Probably.
I was also in rural India. But it was mainly because of the sound of the wheels. I don't know why. That just makes me think of every documentary I've ever seen that was in, like, actually maybe Nepal. Any mountainous region documentary when they stop in a market town.
Yep.
Maybe it was actually yaks.
Could have been
Could have been yaks.
I think for me, I know that you were probably looking for like how it made us feel. Like I heard the cowbells and it made me think of my time in Switzerland or whatever.
Yeah.
But actually, I think for me it was quite mindful in the sense of the thoughts were coming and going very easily because I was just interested to know what the next sound would be. So I was like cow and then back, and I was like dog and then back. I didn't really spend much time judging or thinking about the thoughts. They just kind of came and went quite fluidly.
Yeah, so whilst some people might find it like nice and easy to engage with this activity, as I wanted you to, counting the different individual sounds, others might find it nice to just kind of let those sounds take control of their thoughts and transport them to different places. As we said before, mindfulness is about, being present in that moment, not having those judgmental thoughts. So when you do have these kind of distracting thoughts, accepting them and allowing them to occur without taking it to a negative side, without taking it to a negative direction. And so sometimes I kind of think that mindfulness is perhaps incorrectly named. I feel like mindfulness is more about controlling your unconscious psyche, your id, keeping the thoughts at bay almost, kind of like you're emptying your mind. So it's more like mind emptiness, not mindfulness.
Way.
But yeah, but as you might be able to imagine, it's quite difficult to investigate something like mindfulness and the side effects of it. But it's possible that as you're practicing, for example, whilst you're meditating, you might come across a negative thought or memory, and this could lead to potentially reliving somewhat traumatic experiences or unpleasant memories. But repeated practice can help manage these thoughts from taking over. So if you're concerned about this happening, please take some caution and take your time with it.
Yeah, I think the idea in chronic pain, isn't it, is to be able to have thoughts about your pain and to not necessarily lead to that kind of catastrophizing type feeling. So can you accept the fact that maybe, say that you have like maybe neuropathic type pain, and while you're doing your mindfulness activity, you get a shooting pain down the back of your leg? Can you reflect on that, and can you just let that thought come into your head like, oh God, that was really painful, without going, and that means, and that means, and that means? Can you just have that one thought and then come back to the present, focus on something else? I think the classic thing is like thinking about your breathing, isn't it? It's breath work is what people often say.
Yeah.
Is that's the thing that is going to be omnipresent in your life. So can you take it away from that thought of, oh God, my leg hurts so much, to, right, focus on my breath again, focus on around me, what can I hear, what can I smell, what can I feel?
Yeah.
Like, instead of thinking, oh my God, my leg hurts so much on the back, think about, okay, well, what does the chair feel like on the back of that leg? Like considering a different sensation, for example, and considering it non-judgmentally.
Yeah, the kind of that body scan route where you're just trying to understand the different sensations in your body. But that actually kind of, that leads onto a question that I had for you two. If you've taken part in any of these mindfulness meditation practices before, and if it was along the lines of a breathing exercise, I tend to focus on my breathing by kind of using the visual imagery technique that I mentioned before. So kind of visualizing the air flowing in through my nose, into my lungs, into my bloodstream, around my body, and back out again. Do you, when you've taken part in those practices, do you kind of employ a similar method?
I'm guessing, Josh, have you not employed any of these practices given your kind of initial stance on this at the beginning of the episode?
I mean, breathing techniques, yes, but nothing else really.
Yeah. For me, I've done a little bit more of this. I was made to take part in a acceptance-based pain management program as part of my chronic pain journey. And I was told that I wasn't going to get any further support from a pain clinic until I did this program, so I gave in and did it, despite the fact I think at the time I was similarly sceptical to Josh. Maybe I've softened up a little bit since then, but one of the things that we were made to do was imagine that our pain was a colour, and imagine that colour flowing out of us.
I imagine a lot of people's was red.
Mine's puce.
I think it's safe to say I've not been much angrier in a healthcare setting than I was at that moment. I just felt this was utterly ridiculous. Like, for me personally, I was just like, if it were that easy to imagine my pain was a colour and imagine it flowing out of me, then I would have done that 13 years ago. It's just like, oh, what do you know? It's gone. Yeah, so that one felt a little bit crazy to me. But actually, I kind of...
because you've chosen the wrong colour all this time.
I know. It's actually mauve. But I actually kind of bought into it a little bit more. I worked with a physiotherapist who specialises in rheumatology called Paul Crichton-Rankin, and he does a lot of body scanning stuff. He does like group exercise classes, and he often ends with a body scan. So like feeling different parts of your body from your toes up to your head, tensing different areas and then relaxing them. And actually, you know what, like imagining like these areas of my body scrunching up, like obviously they are scrunched up to an extent when I tense them, but imagining almost like crunching up a paper ball and then like stretching it out again, unfolding the paper and feeling that with different bits of my body. I didn't find it necessarily help with my pain for me personally, but it was quite a nice relaxing sensation. So I can see the value in some of them. I think I am still a little bit sceptical, but that's kind of the most common mindfulness practice I think I've employed.
I mean, you know what though? Just because I don't like it doesn't mean it doesn't work. I don't think the evidence base is necessarily as strong as it should be for us to implement it within the NHS. But different people's minds, bodies are all different, aren't they? Like if we think about imagining an apple, what I imagine as an apple in my brain might be completely different to how you can imagine an apple.
Yeah.
So there's a thing called aphantasia where people don't have can't create images in their brain. Maybe I'm just lacking that bit of my sort of brain that lets me get benefit from mindfulness.
Yeah, it's perfectly possible, isn't it? We're all wired differently. But I do think as well, it doesn't necessarily have to be an independent intervention. I think that's sometimes where it falls apart, is we're quite compartmental with our pain management strategies. So for example, like you'll often get people who are only willing to engage in medication, or they're like, oh, well, I've tried physiotherapy. And it's like, well, physiotherapy isn't just one modality. There's so much to it, and you can engage in these other things. Like you can introduce mindfulness into a therapy setting. You can induce mindfulness into a oncology setting, a cancer-based setting. You've got patients in palliative care, for example. You can introduce mindfulness alongside those medication strategies, kind of as an adjuvant to it, like an adjunct.
I think to add to the point about physiotherapy that you just mentioned, with mindfulness, a lot of it is to do with your awareness, so awareness of your body and all that. So I think having that mind-body connection can really help with physiotherapy because, for example, if you're beginning your physiotherapy journey, you might really struggle to understand which muscles you're trying to activate or work on, and mindfulness can really help with that, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, like proprioception is this idea of knowing where you are in space, and mindfulness and visualization and things like that can really help strengthen that. So there's a lot of athletes, for example. I'm a big basketball fan, as you've heard already on the podcast. There was a basketball player called Chris Alexander who used to play in the UK, who before every time he shot a free throw would shoot a mock free throw without the ball, and he would have his eyes closed because he's visualising himself scoring the ball, and then he would shoot, and he had a free throw percentage of like 98%, highest ever in the league. So it shows like he's empowering this kind of body awareness, this understanding of movement by kind of visualising, repeating it, by focusing in on the movement.
Maybe it's just that he practiced twice as many free throws as everybody because he tried one first.
Yeah, fair point. Fair point.
He wasn't lying about being a skeptic.
But as well, it's obviously that's kind of a sports example, but there are a lot of ways of practicing mindfulness that do engage in physical activity. So yoga's a classic one, isn't it?
Yep, another classic one, Tai Chi in the park.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Every time you type Tai Chi on Google Images, it is a middle-aged to elderly person in a park.
Usually Asian.
And they're in that position where they're like, one leg is straight, one leg is bent, and they're leaning to one side, and they look like they're carrying two plates with their palms turned upwards.
I'm going to see what is the first image. Oh, yep, you got it. Bang in.
Oh, I am absolutely spot on. I'm 100% spot on with that image.
She's also Asian.
Yep. Of course.
So 100% accurate on behalf of the team there.
Another one is swimming. I've found this as I've recently started swimming, and I found that when I'm in that lane, all I'm really thinking about is, one, trying not to swallow the pool water, but two, nothing really. My brain kind of goes blank, and maybe it's because I'm gasping for air, but yeah, I found it really, really helpful to just, it just kind of helps clear the mind.
I found that with running as well. That
Yeah.
was something for me, like, that's the only time my brain truly switches off. And yeah, that was another thing for me. I think same for you with swimming. It was very mindful because all I was thinking was breathe. That's it. Just breathe. Just breathe and keep your legs moving, and that's it. There's no other thoughts. I'm obviously like processing the world around me so I don't get run over. But beyond that, there's no. Thoughts.
It is, yeah. It is funny what the difference is between like swimming and badminton, for example. Like, I never had this sense of, I guess, peace when it came to badminton.
Yeah.
Because you're always thinking about the next shot, the shot after that. You're trying to play that strategy, the strategical game.
Yeah.
And it was sometimes difficult. But yeah, it's really nice with swimming.
Interestingly, with this idea of like swimming, running, for example, you're starting like patterns.
Yeah.
So you're like, it's a very repetitive movement, and completely separate to the podcast. But there's a theory about how movements are generated in terms of like human development. And one of them's like pattern generation, like repeat pattern generation. So doing things a lot as a kid basically like wires them into your neurological systems. And they found that, this is quite a traumatic study, so apologies for this, and this was quite a while ago, so they're not doing this kind of thing anymore. But if you split the connection between a cat's brain and its spinal cord, so it shouldn't have the ability to perform complex movements beyond reactions, but if it had been trained to do specific movements, like run, for example, it could still do it when it was exposed to the same stimulus. So say that the cat ran every time it could smell food. So then even when it was like poked in the left buttock or whatever, it could run. Even when it had that connection separated between its brain and its spinal cord, it still ran. And they think that this is because of these central pattern generators where its body immediately responded to that stimulus with this spinal reflex that it kind of developed for itself.
Almost like muscle memory, or?
Yeah, but like the next level of muscle memory, like intrinsic direct response to a stimulus.
Yeah. So another connection has been formed.
Exactly. So, maybe actually as well with these mindful practices, you might sort of build in new almost positive reflexes. Like if you're practicing this often enough and you think every time I have a shooting pain, I'm going to go and focus on this breath work immediately, you'll strengthen that connection over time. And actually you might end up with a point where this is a reflex response almost.
You're just really good at breathing at that point. No, that's really bad at breathing. But another way of practicing mindfulness is with modern day technology, digital applications. And the NHS recommends a few. Is that right, Joshua?
Yeah, so there's actually a very useful NHS page, which is with Gloucestershire Hospital's NHS Foundation Trust, which is Introduction to Mindfulness for Persistent Pain. We'll put a link in it below, and it does actually have some very good links to applications, to further websites, if this is something you're interested in. And it's a very gentle sort of introduction to that. It has things like Headspace, Breathworks, and the Free Mindfulness Project.
Great resources.
And we'll put some of these resources down below and other videos that you can find online that you can practice a little bit of mindfulness yourself to see if any of these things work for you. Yeah. And I think with that, we pretty much come to the end of our Mindfulness and Pain episode, don't we?
Yeah, I think so.
Shall I close us off with a book review?
Please do.
Right. Well, this week we have an excellent book, an 8 out of 10, called Medieval Bodies by Jack Hartnell. As you all know, here on the podcast, we are big fans of history and pain and the history of medicine. And this is a book that gives really interesting insight in how people in the medieval ages understood the human body and how they believed it to work. And it's well worth a read. It's obviously none of it translates to modern, correct biological knowledge as far as we understand it right now, but it's good to understand how maybe some of these older theories that we've spoken about on the podcast developed.
Fantastic.
So I think on that note, I think I'm going to be mindful of your time at home and say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Subscribe to Patreon.